You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy.
Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer, where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Brian McCubbin.
Hey.
Greg Hectus.
I'm back.
And David Hall.
That's me.
All right, on the show tonight, we'll start tracking which teams some of the Coke Series drivers start to land on and review the newly released 2022 schedule. Daytona gets an unexpected update in preparation of the new NASCAR season, and we'll discuss the soon-to-be-released LA Coliseum.
And remember, guys, you can follow along with us on your PC or mobile device in real time as you listen to the show and see for yourself all the great topics and products we'll discuss by visiting iRacersLounge.com and selecting show notes. So we hope to see you there.
Sim Coaches offers the realistic sim racing equipment you need to win more races online. It is designed for real racers. Hydraulic construction makes them feel like the real thing. High quality construction, 100% leak proof, and lifetime warranty are the key features with these pedals. And they look absolutely amazing. Check out simcoaches.com. Use the coupon code iRacersLounge to get 10% off of your purchase. Simcoaches.com is your ticket to feel like you're actually sitting behind the wheel of a car. Drive harder and stay on the limit longer.
All right, let's get this party started. We're going to kick it off with the Coke draft results. We have a lot of different releases, and we'll start with the first. Team Dillon Esports has announced that Corey Vincent and Taylor Hurst are returning to their team.
Okay, so that was probably why that was the first one, because those are returning drivers, right?
Mm-hmm. RFK.
The other thing I want to interrupt, sorry. I was going to say that leading up to this tweet, the eNASCAR Twitterverse is what I'll call it, because all those drivers are on Twitter. All the teams are on Twitter. And so that's kind of how they publicly, interact socially. But last year was a lot different. There was a lot of discussion. There was rumor. There was innuendo. And then this year, it was like radio silent. I don't know if they were told to not communicate much or what, but once in a while there was a tweet. It was kind of cryptic, like they would tweet out a emoji of a pen, like they're signing something or like a contract. And yeah.
Yeah, maybe they were told to be hush hush. Last night in the league race, at one of the many times Garrett Maines was passing me. I noticed he still had his rookie stripes on his card. I was like, man, when are you going to take those rookie stripes off? And he says, no, man, when am I going to ride a Chevy? He kind of, I guess, dropped a hint that he's probably going to be driving a Chevy this year. So
that's a good catch. That's fun.
I haven't been down the list. I don't know if he's been announced.
He's not been signed that I've seen yet.
Okay.
So.
The next deal we have, though, is from RFK Racing, which is bringing in Parker Rascliff and Cayden Honeycutt.
And wow, that's interesting pairing there. I mean, two rookies, no veterans at all. But I mean, Parker is one of those guys that's like on fire. He had a bunch of wins in the upcoming series and is a really high I rating.
I think it was a pretty smooth video there that they just posted quickly too, just to announce the numbers and what driver was in them, right?
Well, yeah, definitely one of the better videos put out by the teams. I would say, yeah, they win the prize, Greg, for sure.
They win the prize for a normal NASCAR type post for announcing something. We have another one coming up here soon that's kind of off the wall.
I'll go ahead and hit the next one, too. We saw this guy in the Winter Series just a couple of weeks ago. Along with Garrett Lowe, Blade Witt, they are joining Wood Brothers Racing.
Now, Garrett Lowe's a real-time race car driver, and he's returning to the Wood Brothers, but they're bringing on rookie Blade Witt, and like you said, he's hot. I mean, we raced him the other day, and he was really fast. And
is he a rookie? I thought he was a returning guy who's been in before and got back in.
Oh, maybe he is. It could be. Yeah, I'm not. I don't have my stats in front of me like Evan usually does, but this is a more laid-back approach, Greg, to announcing with their graphics. All they did was put up a couple screenshots, really, of some text messages.
It's kind of just the basic way of doing it, right? Just kind of show what the in behind what you kind of do for it, and it was nice to see that part too of it.
It was a screenshot of a text. It was a screenshot of an email, from John Wood, I'm assuming to Blade Witt, about getting signed up.
Well, yeah, if you look at the replay, the reply, you can tell it's a reply because he's mailing John back saying he's super excited. All right, the next one doesn't present a video, but it's a nice looking fonts on those numbers there and names. Stuart Haas has signed Dylan Duvall and Steven Wilson.
And Stuart Haas, I think, is kind of going through a redesign. I saw they were redoing their haulers, all the graphics on the haulers, but I think these are their fonts that they have on their cars. Steven Wilson, he was a rookie last season and really good and looked like he was going to win a race last year.
Probably the rookie of the year if your last name's not DeYoung.
Exactly. And Dylan Duvall, I mean, he's been with Stuart Haas for quite some time, I think. So the odd man out, if you remember, was I forget his name, but he worked at Stuart Haas, but he didn't make it this year. The shot guy.
All right. The iRacer GG guys are otherwise known as Kligerman Sport, are returning to the Coke Series. And yeah, I kind of reversed announced their new team name.
Seriously, this video is just funny. It's something you'd expect Parker to come up in his weird, wacky mind.
Yeah, so Kligerman Esports, who it used to be Burton Kligerman, and Jeff Burton's probably like, we don't know, but he's probably like, I'm out of here, And so then it was Kligerman Esports, and so now it's iRacer. So I guess, Parker's part of iRacer, so in conjunction with Landon Castle. So, but the video, like you said, basically it's screenshot only with some, voiceover, but the voiceover are like robot voiceovers. They're not even real people. And Parker said he had sold the team to Evil Parker, and he needed a Bitcoin to pay Evil Parker for the team to get it back. And so he asked Landon Castle if he could borrow a Bitcoin.
I really wish Parker would have done the voiceover for all the characters in this, because it kind of would have made it even more entertaining.
I think it was like Siri talking, actually.
It's one of those programs that you can just type to or talk to typing text, whatever you call it.
I keep getting bombarded with commercials for that now. Like, you notice there's a lot of videos out there where people don't, I guess, like to talk themselves, but they like to produce the videos and then have a machine do all the talking for them.
Yeah, it seems to be the norm now, especially with some of those, social media apps and things like that. TikTok definitely has that for some of the things to go through.
This video is kind of a mock video, but it reminds me of what, a team would come up with as a storyboard. This is a quick storyboard. We don't have any talent or real shots yet, so we'll just throw up some screenshots. We'll do some quick voiceover and kind of storyboard something together, and then you show it to the stakeholders, and they're like, "Yeah, just run with that. We'll just publish that."
Well, it is funny. I mean, it's creative and funny. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be super exquisitely fancy all the time.
The thing is that guy that does the announcing with them when they do that iRacer GG races. That third guy that does the announcing, is he?
They do. David Schildhouse is who you're talking about.
Yeah, is he part of this thing, or is he just a separate announcer type?
I think he's affiliated, but yeah.
Okay.
And this next one was fairly simple. It was Jim Beaver Esports announcing Blake Reynolds and Michael Guest. And so, veterans, obviously, and their graphic is very simple. It's got the NASCAR Coke Series logo. It's got the Jim Beaver Esports logo. It's got a picture of the two drivers and their name. And, just straight up.
Now, we called this at the beginning of the segment the draft result. Did they actually do a draft, or is it basically just a fully a free agency?
No, it was a wide open free agency. Yeah. I'll email you, text you. It was like people reaching out to people.
Yeah, have your phone near you all day to find out who are you gonna sign with.
Now, I did put it in here, but I'm going to mention it. If you remember, there was a Coke driver named Isaac Gann who left in the middle of the season due to some kind of health concern. And he had tweeted this week about the money involved that these guys might be getting. And he was saying something along the lines of like, if they offer you $5,000 for the season, take it. Don't wait for, you're not worth more than that or something like that. But I kind of raised some eyebrows because it kind of indicates that some of these drivers, that might be what they're getting paid for the year.
Well, if you think about the fact that they're turning this almost into a full-time job, that's not a lot.
It's not. I mean, you can't live on that, obviously. Does it supplement, your equipment and some of your time? Sure. And do others get more than others? I'm sure Ray Alfalo probably makes more than some of the new guys for sure. I bet I'd have no idea, but I would guess at least double.
What about those guys that all live together? They're basically paying for their living, right? So that's definitely got to be worth more than $5,000.
Coanda? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I would guess because of the facilities and stuff, I don't know. Is Coanda considered like the Red Bull or Mercedes type development type teams where they have like a development program where they just keep them on as their they sponsor them to do it?
Well, with Coanda, I mean, you got to look at them. They recently went to that other title by that other company called Motorsport Game. And they've been running over there exclusively, and as we reported, left are not going to be participating in the iRacing Porsche as well. So that's happening. And you think that they went over there because that's where they wanted to race? I think they went over there because they got paid.
They're definitely going to go where the money is, right?
Right. So they could run the Porsche series and get paid X amount, but maybe Motorsports Games, wrote them a check and said, you know what, we want you over here on our they call it the Le Mans series.
There's really not a whole lot of oval guys in Coanda anyway. It's mostly road guys, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think Mitchell might be the only road guy or oval driver there, and he's kind of like both.
Well, what do you think Mitchell's going to think of this schedule?
Good transition. I was going to come at it a different direction, but you beat me to the punch. The 22 Coke schedule did just get released. I think literally I was at the gym and checking things between sets and noticed this pop up, and Brian threw it on the script just like that. And it's up here. It's going to be a typical NASCAR track. It's ending at Phoenix. They are doing an exhibition race at the LA Coliseum. Did we get a count of the road races?
2. Road America.
It's 18 races. Is that whatever? It's 18 races. That's more than they normally do, don't they? It was 17 this year, wasn't it?
Well, it's the Coliseum.
No, I might just be counting here wrong, but
I think you're right, Greg. I think it's 18.
Yeah, I'm getting 18 with the Cala, so it's a 19-week season of events for them. And they usually run an all-star in the middle of it too, don't they?
And maybe that's not listed here, but they could be. Yeah, they usually do an all-star.
You see that they're doing the Bristol Dirt. Sorry, David.
They're doing Bristol Dirt. They're going to the Glen and Road America, and also Nashville Superspeedway and Gateway or Worldwide Technology Raceway are both on there.
I don't know about you guys, but one of the tracks that I'm looking forward to racing this year is Worldwide Technology. I'm glad that they're actually going there too.
So 4 new tracks for the Coke Series.
It kind of is similar to Darlington because it has unequal corners, right?
And they're flat though, right? Yeah, there's no bank to those ones.
It's they're still banking.
It's minimal though, isn't it?
It's not like New Hampshire. No, it's not a 1.5 mile or Nashville kind of angle, but it's not. There's still some banking there.
Now, Mike, I meant to ask you about this one. Do you think they're ending at Phoenix this year because they actually have the real scan of Phoenix now?
Yeah, I'm sure that's why they avoided it before. But now it looks right, and so, no problem.
And it looks like they're avoiding Texas completely this year to race at. They're not even finished.
That's good.
So they were last couple of years they finished at Texas, and now they're not even racing there.
Well, I think the call out here is, it is Bristol twice. Obviously.
Yeah, at least they got the 2 configurations of Bristol to do it, which is going to be awesome. I'm excited to watch the dirt race for them.
Well, that's going to put your possible dirt ringer in the playoffs, right? Well, it actually didn't. This year, a win didn't guarantee a playoff, did it?
Yeah, because there was too many winners, yeah. And this year, is kind of setting up to be the same way, where we're going to end up with a lot of winners. The talent is steep, and the rookie list is very deep.
And, week 3 is going to be Atlanta, and we'll have to see, I guess, if it's going to be the new version, right?
They probably wouldn't have put it on if they knew that they weren't going to guarantee it in here, right?
I kind of think that they know that it's going to be updated if they're going to have that in the Coke Series.
Yeah, we have another build before March 15th, so that would make sense. Maybe they're targeting it and they know it's getting ready, so.
So it looks like the last 4 are playoff races, right? Bristol, Talladega is going to be a playoff elimination race. That's pretty interesting. And Homestead after that.
And then Phoenix. And look at the differences in those 4 races. You got a half mile. Then you got Talladega, the biggest track there is. Then Homestead, which is like the bread and butter cookie cutter 1.5 miles. And then, of course, the Phoenix flat mile.
I disagree with calling Miami a cookie cutter.
Yeah, that's one of the best
it's the
tracks.
Best 1.5 mile track in the series.
Well, that's true. That's why it's there, right?
Well, even if you go the last 6 weeks, you're going to go road course into Darlington into the playoff stuff. That's like, to finish it up is going to be crazy.
At Darlington, right.
Yeah, and if really from Road America on July 5th, there's not a cookie cutter type track the rest of the season.
True.
It looks like they got a couple week gap. Yeah, so there looks like between July 19th and August 16th, they have like a summer break almost.
Maybe that's the All-Star week. They'll throw something in there, maybe.
That's almost a month gap. You're right.
And
there's only 2. Oh, there's 3. There's 3 D-shaped 1.5 miles on the series. That's not bad.
And then they got, because they go road course, Pocono road course, right? It's kind of interesting to have those, but it's over a 1.5 months difference.
Well, it's I guess. Do you consider Nashville Superspeedway a cookie cutter 1.5 miles?
It's only a 1.3 mile.
That's a little short.
They actually ran. In fact, last year they ran the short track package at it. They didn't run the big spoiler.
I'm so glad there's not these different packages. There's only 3 tracks that they're running a different package on, and the rest of it's the same car for the rest of the season.
Well, I'm just glad they're putting horsepower on the tracks that need to have horsepower. You've got to have the restrictor plates on the big super speedways, but just the 550 package, death to it basically.
kind of interesting that it looks like they've picked up a lot of the news tracks that they've scanned this year too for it. So any of the newer ones that were redone have been added to the schedule, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, with they made sure they put
Bristol Dirt. You got Watkins Glen. You're gonna have the new
Watkins Glen,
Daytona,
right,
Coliseum, Atlanta. I mean, probably the oldest track on here that hasn't been scanned in a long time would be Road America. I would think Road America or yeah, Road America would be one of the oldest tracks.
So is NASCAR Cup for real going to Road America this year?
Well, they were there last year.
Okay.
Yep.
Actually, I think Road America, didn't it get a facelift though too? Yeah, it did get a facelift in the middle of this season, or last season I think too, though, on iRacing.
That was they just changed the sponsor signage.
Yeah, updated that for the race. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a really strong schedule for them to race on. It'll be interesting to see these races this year, and in the new car.
Some of the replies to the schedule I saw on Twitter, one person said, "This is better to watch than real NASCAR," and I agree. I mean, I watched these races for several years now, but the competition is great, so I'm looking forward to it and hoping we can work a deal with Evan to come back on the show after each race, and we'll do it again.
They're on what, Tuesday nights? Is it a Tuesday night?
Tuesdays.
Okay.
Well, sticking with NASCAR series, Brian, let's jump into the international series.
Yeah, so the international series just started on January 8th. Was their first race at Miami Homestead, and it was won by none other than Raja Caruth. So a good win for Raja in the first of that series. Looks like it's a short series. It's 5 races long. Is all. Homestead was the first race. They'll be racing Canadian Tire later this week, and then Circuit Zolder January 22nd. Then they go to Daytona for the road course on January 29th, and then Phoenix is going to be wrapping it up in February 5th, just before the start of the season. So it's an international flair with a lot of road courses, and it was a good start to the season for Raja.
I was going to say, it sounds like a series I would be into.
I think the cool thing about NASCAR and stuff like this, and the IMSA, and all these professional racing organizations that are continuing to use iRacing, because they all did for the year of 2020 for the COVID reasons. And then they continued it in 2021 to try to maybe start a tradition. And, here we are in 2022 and it's still happening. So maybe this is long term, maybe this is here to stay, where we have, these professional race car drivers, taking some time out and participating, in iRacing in these events. It's pretty cool.
Was this a series that you had to qualify in for? I don't remember seeing any qualifying series or anything for this.
I think it's invitational only, based on if you're in the international NASCAR series or part of the NASCAR circle.
So it's like a status thing. It's all like pro drivers.
Well, Raja Caruth obviously isn't in the international series.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why he's there, but obviously it's open to NASCAR insiders, and they're grooming him. All right, next up is a article by jalopnik.com, which is fairly mainstream. The website in their article discusses the purchase of Monster Games by iRacing and speculates that play may be making play towards consoles. And so that's the title. The article goes on to give a quote from iRacing in the press release where it said, The iRacing development team will remain 100% focused on continuing to develop the core product of iRacing. And concepts for brand expansion, however, seem to still be on the table. They go on to say, the iRacing team has not confirmed any plans to expand the brand, but buying up studios isn't an expensive endeavor. Multiple acquisitions, especially in such a short period of time, point to an expectation of new revenue, particularly revenue from new products. In the case of Monster Games, that likely means more accessible console offerings, games for those of us who don't have their direct deposit sent straight to Fanatec. And that was the end of it. So, I mean, they have a point. Even though iRacing says, we're not porting to console, I mean, they're not doing this for no reason.
Well, like right now, it's all negative numbers out, right? You've acquired these companies. You got to see they've just spent money. They haven't done anything with it yet.
Well, I think that's the point of the article. Where they're going to want return on their money, right? It's like any company.
I don't know where they would head with, like, the hardest part with getting into bed with consoles and mixing it with the PC is the cross-platform stuff just doesn't play well together a lot of the times, and I just don't see how do you on a if it does go to a console eventually. Not many things you do on the console are subscription based besides buying like an Xbox is called Game Pass, where you can get games under the subscription thing, but you're not subscribing to an actual one game all year round for buying for it. So it's kind of weird if iRacing would take an advantage like that, unless it's something else they're creating for that console.
Yeah, iRacing doesn't have to do it cross-platform to be involved. They can have a completely separate product for console. And we spoke about it last week that we really don't want to be racing against console racers.
Oh, hell no. Right. You're right.
I think some of the speculation from the last week's article was more on point, that not only are they doing this to protect the console market from basically them getting run out of it like they did back in the 2003 racing days, right, when EA came in. They probably want some return, but it's also just protecting. It's protecting against people like Motorsports who are just going to try to come in and shove everybody else out, and then start putting out bad product.
The other part I think Jalopnik is missing on this is traditionally been a company that's not worried about the bottom line, that ran in the red for a long time before they made any money. And they have deep pockets with the founder, John Henry. So with that in mind, I mean, you can speculate about where the money came from to buy these two studios. I'm sure iRacing probably had it, but if they didn't, I mean, obviously John Henry has it. He's a billionaire.
But I'm sure the out-of-pocket price for these studios is very minimal compared to...
We lost you.
Sorry about that. I would think that to buy these studios, it's not like buying a big company like EA or something like that. These are minimal purchases. There's still a decent amount of money, but they're not big fish in the world, right?
Yeah. Teammate Bobby just chimed in the group chat with something that was covered in the articles last week as well. It's helping them get access to licenses as well.
Right. It makes it easier for those smaller companies to put out products because iRacing already has a license, and so good point. I could see them developing or that other studio they bought, developing a NASCAR racing game, that's specifically, 2023 NASCAR, whatever. And because iRacing's already in bed with NASCAR, all the licensing's handled.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be cross-platformed with the iRacing. It can just be similar enough that maybe just to get your toes wet into this environment, to where you inquire more about it, and maybe those guys who are good just decide that that's where they want to go to go to the next level competition.
Well, another way to get you to go into iRacing is this great video they put out this week.
Last week?
Yep.
Or a couple weeks ago?
This is really a 2021 review video.
Okay. I was going to say, like, it just seemed, when I quickly went through it, it was kind of like the other one, but, I mean, it's another well-done video by them, right?
It's kind of like a commercial, yeah.
But,
it's not something they would post. I don't think this is something that they're going to run during commercial times, but it almost seemed to me more like a salute to a great year, 2021 type of deal, and saluting the content providers and the racers.
Highlight.
Yeah, it's highlights of all the close wheel-to-wheel battles that were on in all the series. For how different everybody races and how far everybody can be away from each other, a lot of these races came down to like no space at all.
As I was watching this, my thought was, man, it must be hard to go back and find all these moments in all these different races throughout the year. I mean, how do you go back and find them in YouTube or wherever you would find these? I mean, it must be a daunting task.
Well, I think if it's anything like something like Mike, I know you have a background in like music and stuff like that. When it comes to like the broadcast media stuff, when they have someone that's doing all this stuff in the background, which is their job, they just clip it when, if they see something, they clip it and put a file and a name to it. Who knows if they ever use it? It's just there on the hard drive space, and they can either come back to it down the road or whatever. But a lot of these people that make these type of things, it's like an art, right? They see the video, how it's going to play out before it's done.
Yep, pretty cool. Now, I added this topic just because I wanted to hear David say cluckus.
You're trying to make fun of the way I say things. Let's just make that enough. Let's just remember that. All right. So cluckus is, I guess that it's not clucus.
I don't know. Maybe it is.
All right, or clucas. That was probably insulting. No. All right. So there was a question basically asking what is the highest I rating, or not I rating, safety rating actually, and the simple answer is 4.99. But Vern Klukas kind of jumped in and pointed out that he knows that on the pro license, it's basically a running average of your 2,600 corner CPI divided by how many incidents you have. Well, that's what corners per incident is. However, if you also look through there's it's kind of based on a logarithmic scale. So your class, it's easier to jump from class or from 1.0 to 2.0 than it is to jump from 2.0 to 3.0, because each time the level of CPI that you have to jump that level gets a little bit higher. And it also, for each smaller license, there's a smaller average of running CPI. So like when you're running in rookie races, it's only like 1,200 corners that count on your running average. After you've run your 1,300th lap, your first 100 laps are erased from that history. It's just kind of a rolling average. And so it's essentially, then some guys started saying, well, I know I had this CPI in this season. We were trying to find out who probably had the best CPI. And the only thing I can promise you is that it wasn't Mike.
I don't think it was me either, especially if it comes to road.
Well, in road, especially when you're floating, most of the time I'm floating in the 3s or 4s anyway with the Class A. So when we're running at Daytona, there's plenty of times I'm willing to take about 8 to 10x every race just to get a little bit of extra time, right?
Thing too here is I just think it's interesting. So I never thought about it as a reset period of where it accumulates I knew that it accumulated from previous races. It takes like an average out of stuff. It's kind of interesting to see that it's a number that comes off, like you were saying there, David. When you get to 1,300, it starts coming away from the beginning, your first 100 laps or whatever you were saying. So I never thought about it in my head that way.
It's theoretically possible that you could have a really good race, but because one of your really good races or even better, cleaner races, just got pushed off the rolling average, that you could actually lose a little bit of SR.
Right. You always see those forum posts. I finished really good, but I lost SR. Well, that's why. So the thing I want to point out is Vern Cluckus, provided these numbers, which, who knows where he found these, but they're really telling. I mean, when you look at what license you are, like D is 1,350. So that means 1,350 corners is the calculation. So it looks at your last 1,350 and it calculates from there your SR. Now, if you're A license, it's 2,333. It's 1,000 more. It's like almost double the calculation of corners used for your CPI for your SR. So I just find it interesting that it goes up so much, that it's such a sliding scale.
I almost wonder if it should go up more, because think about how much longer your A races are compared to your ARCA races or so.
Well, even like a rookie race that's only going to be 10, 15 minutes long, right? You're not going to have a billion corners in a rookie race. So even 1,125 that's still a decent amount of time, especially even on short tracks.
Well, I mean, You have a point of making it harder by increasing that number, because, okay, so as you alluded to, I am known for a lot of incidents. If you look at NIS, I'm one of the highest incident counts for the season. But guess what? I never lose my A license, ever. But maybe I should. Maybe because I use so many incidents, maybe I should be bumped to B once in a while. And maybe and this proves that it's not high enough number, I think, basically.
But just everybody know, he has the highest safety rating in practice. Highest.
Right.
So, and another thing is, I think these numbers were specific to road, right? These weren't oval, I don't believe.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't think it really ever. I don't think it ever really indicated. So it didn't really clarify that, but I almost think that it could be a larger number. The reason it's not a larger number to make it harder, it's a larger number because you need to count more races. They basically want you to still have the same basic number of races. So it takes 10 races is less corners in D license than it is in A license. So you don't want just 2 races affecting your license when you're running an A race.
So even though I wanted to talk about these numbers on CPI, the gist of this post is, what is the highest SR? Now, remember, it caps visually to us at 4.99, but the forum op is basically saying the actual calculation is going to be a higher than 499. So who has the highest SR that's actually above 499? So that's what he was asking, but I don't think anyone had an answer.
Only iRacing would know it, because it would be in the background, would it not? It would only be in their coding that would show it.
Right. They could probably go in the database and look.
Like, I mean, if you think about any of some of the drivers that we've raced against that are that don't have any incidents, it could be.
I was thinking of OBRL guys that never get incidents, right? Because
yeah, but that it doesn't do anything for. That doesn't calculate in hosted race.
Yeah, how many of them run official races?
But if they did, right?
I was just thinking, David, a couple years ago, imagine Max Verstappen and them at Spa. What they did to theirs.
Several people, when the Spa's incident limit was broken, went from an A license to a D license in 24 hours.
Well, someone else was talking about, even in this forum post, I was looking at it too. imagine doing the 24 hours in Nürburgring and not having an incident at all, and how many corners that's considered per lap. And if you get, you got a couple of, you get like what, 10, 15 laps maybe in your stints, depending on how many.
You're not going to really be doing that many more corners at Nürburgring than you are at Daytona because the lap is longer, right? You're hitting the same corners in the same amount of time.
But I mean, I don't know. There is a lot. I don't know. What is the corner total for?
There's a lot of corners, but it takes you 11 minutes to do a lap, unless you're in the first car ever built, like in Jimmy Broadbent's video, where he actually sim raced the literally a 3/4 horsepower car on wooden wheels, and it took him an hour and 8 minutes, I think.
That takes 18. A lot of patience to do that.
to run Nürburgring. It's the corners. I guess the corners that you're going to do in a certain amount of time are going to be based on the number of straights, and there's actually some really long straights in Nürburgring.
Remember, it's incident per corner, not incident per lap.
Yeah, but the amount of time the amount of corners that you can do in a 24-hour period is not necessarily going to be greater just because the lap time's longer. Because you're not going to get as many laps.
Because David's saying, like, if say you're doing the Daytona road course, and you can do in 11 minutes, you can do what, 5 laps?
It's about in the LMP, it's about minute 37 per lap.
Yeah, so you're about 4 or 5 laps, and if it's 10, 15 corner, yeah, you're getting them. You can probably get 80 to 100 clean corners, right?
Yep.
I'm gonna take a stab at this one here too. While you guys were talking there, I think his name might be Vern Lucas. The K might be silent. Just saying.
Vern is a frequent poster in the forums.
I was hoping to see if I could find his. I'm guessing he's already passed his up to 1,300 posts.
All right, next up.
One more thing. Remember how fast our licenses went up when we ran those A races at Bristol Dirt? In 1 week, I was up to a C license.
It's one way to do it.
Because those races are longer. All right. Is this the 22 official races season is no, it's not out yet. Mike, what are they doing with it?
Well, they want to develop the schedules for season 2 early, and here we are, January 13th. They need their results by February 1st. So basically, Tyler Hudson and his team, they've been posting in the forums on every series page, hey, here's the template, community, come up with a schedule. And so if you want to help come up with the schedule in an official series, you can do that by getting involved in the forums. We have samples in our script here of 5 different forum posts, basically, asking for those schedules by February 1st.
Yeah, I already got a PM for the European Sprint Series to send in with some votes.
I usually don't participate in this. I just kind of go with it.
Yeah, it's a really cool way for the drivers to actually have some input in what they're going to be racing. So if that's something you want to do, is give your input. Definitely check these out.
But the only plan I almost ever have is try to make sure that your schedule is lined up with the special events. Like smartly this year with IMSA, you can run Daytona all week before the 24th.
Is that next week? Is IMSA then?
Next week.
Sweet.
Yeah. And so you can get a lot of practice races in.